polar biome comprises of an assemblage of plants and animals which are adapted to different type of conditions. For example, the plant response in the polar region is going to be very, very different. And of course, it's very specific as well. First, it's adapted to the short growing season and extreme cold climate. And it shows all the type of adaptation one can imagine. One of them is the trees are lacking, except near rivers and sheltered slopes. Now, why is it that the trees lack in those regions? There are reasons for it. The first is tree roots are not deep enough to survive. They cannot go deep down. That's one, because of permafrost. That's reason number one. Second is the temperatures are too low, and also the trees are not able to get water in that amount, the amount that is required for the trees to grow. That is second one. Most of this water is going to be in the form of snow. Of course, the trees can't going to take it. The third is that is tundra is treeless. It's treeless, and consequently there are no trees. That means that is on a treeless surface, the wind speed is so high that it will not going to allow any type of a plant to grow in these regions and uproot it. It will uproot it. So trees are lacking, and consequently tundra is treeless. So the trees are lacking. Why is it that they can be found near rivers? They can be found near rivers because of one reason, and that reason is that there is sufficient amount of water. They are lacking except near unsheltered slopes. Sheltered slopes, that means those slopes which are sheltered where the wind speed cannot be high. Sheltered not from anything, sheltered from high speed winds. And this can be a question that can be asked to you in the prelims examination. That is the basic reason why tundra is treeless is because reason number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. So is it that the trees evade drought, or is it that they endure drought? That is going to be another point. They are adapted. That means they are able to endure that type of a drought. So lack of tall plants is a consequence of the requirement of balance of heat budget and to conserve moisture. Of course, this is what we talked about. And tree roots are not deep enough in this case. Summer thaw, that means in the summer, the whole of the permafrost region thaws out. And as it thaws out, it turns the whole of the region into a quagmire of puddles, bogs, and shallow lakes. That is what it is going to be turned into in this place. The surface is covered with a mat of mosses, lichens, grasses, and sedges. This is the type of vegetation that you find in these type of regions. So, if there is hardly going to be a plant life, will there be any animal life in these regions at all? The answer is, of course, because the animals will be based on something different. The animals will be eating something different. The animal response is really different. For example, during short summer, large number of migratory birds, especially waterfowl, flock to the tundra region to feed on it. Now, we just now saw that the permafrost shows a tendency to melt. And as it melts, the whole of the region is going to be turned into a quagmire of bogs, puddles, and whatnot. So, this is then the entire region starts swarming with insects. And to feed on these insects, even though Siberian crane also migrate from such a large distance. And all of these migratory birds can make a guess. They make a journey all the way from Antarctic to Arctic and Arctic to Antarctic region. That is one part. So that's one. Except for ptarmigan, tundra birds are migratory, using the short period of reproduction, surviving the rest of the year somewhere. Now this is very, very important. Ptarmigan. So there's only one bird that is living in that region. Most of these birds are always going to be migratory in nature. And they have to be migratory largely because there is no way that they can feed. And some of these most important of these birds means Arctic tern is going to be one. Then there is a falcon, Peregrine falcon, which is the fastest bird in the world, which can travel at a speed of something like some 230-40 kilometers per hour. Jaggers, geese, shorebirds, and songbirds are going to be significant. And that's the way. This is the songbird, that is going to be jaggers, and the polar geese as well. Most of the creatures which are going to be found in the tundra regions, they burrow. They burrow and they hibernate. They burrow because they are able to evade such type of a cold condition. They burrow and they hibernate. That means during hibernation, there is hardly any metabolic activity. They look like almost as good as being a dead animals. That's the way it is. And they migrate. They migrate for long distances. For example, they migrate to long distance like a reindeer, caribou, musk oxen, and lemming. All of these creatures. Reindeer and caribou and along with musk oxen migrate where? There is an annual migratory cycle like that of elephants which do in savanna region in search of water, and they migrate to warmer conditions, particularly towards taiga region during the summer season, during the winter season. And that is the reason that they are very migratory in nature. There is a slight amount of a difference between that of reindeer and that of caribou. That is the name that is going to be given in different type of regions. Otherwise, they are by and large, the looks are going to be completely the same. The most important animal is going to be polar bear. It's a fascinating animal. It's a really fascinating animal. And an idea about polar bear will help you know about everything about it, everything concerned with it. For example, the polar bear is a fascinating animal because other than elephant, there is only one animal that has such a high degree of olfactory sensation. Olfactory sensation, that means a smell sensation. They have some of the best sensations of what we call it as of smell anywhere in comparison to any animal or anywhere. Now, you may have seen it in pictures that these polar bears, they jump over snow, and in process of jumping, what they do is that they reach to the water. They reach to water to catch a fish. Imagine 6 feet thick snow, and they are able to sense that there is a fish beneath. That is olfactory sensation. While in savanna, what the elephants do is that elephants raise their trunk and they are able to sense it. They are able to smell 24 kilometers away where will be a rainfall. So both of them are. Of course, elephants, if they are Indian elephants, they will be very, very friendly. And if you happen to feed something to them, they will remember it for a lifetime. One of the best friends that human beings have. These polar bears have a variety of mechanisms to protect themselves from the very cold conditions found in these regions. For example, one is as you can go to find it, this is how they look like: a small tail, large furry feet. Now, with this furry feet, if they are moving on a snow surface, which is a bit weak, that means it can collapse. That means it has a chance to collapse or it can go to fall. What they will going to do is that they will going to crawl. They will not move over it because then in this case the weight of their legs will be high. Take a look at the way their legs are made. Large furry feet for walking on ice and snow. This allows them to move easily. They have long claws, and these claws, they keep on moving up and down, and that is the way that they are able to tear any type of prey down. When you take a baby polar bear, they are very sweet, but you're going to see how is it that the claws move forward and backward in this case. Black nose is for the purpose of course, smell, and a muscle hump over shoulders. This is a muscle hump over the shoulder. Like a good number of people going to be having a hump over their neck as well. This is a muscle hump so as to make them very, very strong. But other than that, these polar bears have a subcutaneous fat. insulator prevents heat from the body. A good number of creatures in the polar region, they have blood circulation not from heart to the skin, but from outside to their heart. We'll talk about it also. But then there is a good amount of a subcutaneous fat. Of course, this is the one that is responsible for preventing any type of an animal to lose their heat. Polar bear is going to be one of them. Hair is raised and brought up into more or less vertical position. All of this hair that is raised in such a manner. Why? Because it traps air, and because it is able to trap air, that is the basic reason that these animals, that means polar bears, are able to resist that type of a heat. Blood vessels in the skin constrict as the blood directed from surface to deeper layers, reducing loss of heat from blood to the surrounding. That is what we have been talking about. That is, blood is directed from surface to deeper layers, not vice versa. So there is not so much amount of heat loss that takes place. There is an increase in the metabolic rate. And this increase in metabolic rate allows only a few species and primary consumers, and therefore the biome is very, very vulnerable. That is very fragile. That means any small amount of a damage can go on to cause a huge amount of a damage to it. Small herbivores like Arctic carmine and snowy owl have a white fur over it. White fur, and that is responsible for camouflaging it. Camouflaging, that means they're able to protect themselves in such a manner. This is how they are able to camouflage themselves. That is the way. So both of them, ermine as well as snowy owl, are able to do it in such a manner. That is the way that things in this case go on to move. So there is going to be a good amount of adaptation in this case. It is this adaptation that is allowing the biome or the biotic region to survive also in these places.
To have more such discussions and analysis, subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon for notifications on our upcoming videos.